Hi, hi, hi. It's time for me to talk about things. Welcome to Here, Let Me Help. My name's Lily. There's nobody else here, just us. Just me and you. Me and you, hun. So let's talk about some things that I have to talk about. Tornado in Mississippi hit Amory pretty hard. Legitimately just before I hit record, I saw the tigers were missing from a zoo. So I want to check on that. I want to see. Okay, so I'm seeing here two tigers recaptured after escaping Georgia Safari Park during a tornado warning. Um, ay, ay, ay. So, tornado devastated Mississippi on Sunday. Uh, oh, insane. Insane. There was a lot of action, and this was a massive, massive tornado. So, if you know anyone or you want to help, there are plenty of places that you can go to donate. Or if you're near there, go lend a hand. Need people need people need assistance, and they were devastated in this tornado. So that I can't even listen to the news because it breaks my heart. The Palmer candy factory explosion. People have died. People are missing. There are people in the rubble. I was listening to the news this morning in the car, and a brother of someone who was currently missing, which they believe to still be in the rubble, was saying how they told him to expect the worst, prepare for the worst, and how you can't do that. As a person, you can't prepare for the worst, that your sister is gone. You can't prepare for that, and you're not going to. You're not going to give up hope. Terrible, terrible explosion. People were hurt, people are dead, people are missing, and it's really, really sad. It's enough. It's enough. And I think it goes to show that the more that we have these types of things, buildings exploding and tornadoes, and how quickly they devastate towns and small areas, and bridges collapsing, and this and that and this and that, America's infrastructure is starting to crumble. The physical infrastructure of America is starting to crumble, and I think it's something that people need to think about, especially when they are voting. That we need to care about the planet, and we need to care about the infrastructure. I just saw a video of a building in New York City. How the facade of the building was literally just coming off. Someone opened their window, and it was separating from the actual building, and she had to call the fire department, which then turned into a whole thing, which she saved people's lives, because the facade of the building could have crumbled, which is all bricks, could have crumbled onto people on the street, but also who knows what would have happened to the physical building, holding those apartments and the people inside. Like, she's a lifesaver because she complained, but that just goes to show that these buildings are getting old. Things are getting old. Ways of how we used to do things aren't working anymore. So changes need to be made. Big time. I don't know what those changes are. I'm just me over here. This is just my brain. I'm just exposing the thoughts inside my brain. TikTok is in Congress, well, was in Congress, and I talked about that on my Lily's News show on Insane Games TV YouTube channel. I'll link it here if you want to go watch that. Or is it here? Probably here. I Very, very wild. Very wild. TikTok is a young man's game, and Congress is an old man's game, and those two never mesh well. We learned a lot about TikTok's plans on what to do with our data in Congress, and we also learned that a lot of congressional representatives have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So, if this was, for a lot of people, this was probably the first time that they saw a congressional hearing. I personally have seen, Google CEO Mark Zuckerberg. I watched all of that happen, and so this wasn't new to me, but it was new to a lot of people. And I think the beauty of TikTok was that people on TikTok were able to take pieces and then make fantastic edits on TikTok. The problem is Congress went in with a very harsh, very determined, matter-of-fact attitude that TikTok is bad. And the constituents, those who use TikTok, the young folk, and I'm not just referring to teenagers, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds that use TikTok, know that it's not. We are not being subjected to propaganda from the CCP. We are not being. And if you don't want your data to be shared, get off the internet. Plain and simple. We should all know by now, if you don't want your data to be shared, get off the internet. Them's the rules. But also, for the Congress to go into this, there is a little tiny bug and it's just flying around, and I'm having a problem. If the Congress is going to go into this hearing with a get out of our phones attitude to TikTok, why? There's no evidence, there's no proof besides one tiny incident that didn't have anything to do with like mass sharing of data or sending of data. One incident, there was no evidence of TikTok delivering our data to the CCP. But there is plenty of evidence for the younger generations, the youth of America, and those in the 20s and their 30s, gathering more information than they've ever had before on the country and on the world. More news stories that we would never even know about. And my example was, imagine if the train derailment in East Palestine didn't happen in a time of TikTok. Imagine not knowing the immense amount of details that we know because of social media apps like TikTok. The news would just say, oh, train derailment, big fire, tomorrow, something new, and we're not going to go back because that's what used to be done. But now we still get daily updates if it's part of your algorithm, and it can make it part of your algorithm. You can see all of the things that no one in the legacy news media outlets are sharing. And the Congress doesn't like that, because why would the government want us to know everything? You got to think about it. But a friend of mine said to look and share my thoughts about the new Madeleine McCann updates. Now, let's do a quick kind of overview if you are not familiar, or you think you might be familiar and you just need some details to refamiliarize with the case of Madeleine McCann. So, a very, very broad interview of this. So, in 2007, Madeleine was taken from her bed while her and her family were on holiday in Praia de Luz. I am saying that incorrectly. I'm sorry. And that's in Portugal. So she was 3 years old. They're from the UK. They were on holiday in Portugal. Her family and another family, they were out as buds, family vacay. And Madeleine and her two younger siblings, who are twins, were sleeping in the apartment they were renting for holiday, and their parents and their parents' friends were dining at the restaurant at the villa that they were staying at. It was under 200 feet away. It was just right around the corner. But they were not in the apartment. It's late. Sun's been down. It's late. So the adults were alternating on who goes and checks on the kids. So the friend's parents went and checked on all the kids, and then like a husband went and checked on all the kids. And then it was about 10 o'clock at night, and Madeleine's mother went and checked on the kids. And that's when Madeleine's mom arrived to an empty bed and supposedly an open window. So this is when chaos occurred. Their baby girl is missing. They're in a foreign country to them. They left their babies unattended. The rumors swirled. Did they hurt her and are hiding it through an abduction? The media was everywhere. Cadaver dogs. Parents are suspects. Now they're not. A suspicious man here, suspicious man there. It was absolute chaos. So Madeleine McCann is a little girl who went missing in 2007 in Portugal. And the story and events of that night of Madeleine McCann going missing has been told many, many times on the internet, many, many times in legacy media. There's documentaries, there's all that stuff. So you can gather all the information that you want. I'm not going to do any of that here just because I want to go to the things that are happening now. But there are great, great places to get that information. And don't just watch one like Netflix documentary and be like, oh, I know everything. I know who did it. No, you don't. Because if you did, then the authorities would know as well, unless there's like a bigger thing going on, which I don't think. Well, I'm not going to get into that. Maybe another day. But what I wanted to talk to you today is about the stuff that you may not have heard about um, in more present times. 2007 was a long time ago. So let's talk about in 2002. Christian Bruckner was basically named the suspect. He was charged with he's been charged with 5 different offenses from 2000 and 2017 in Portugal. He is a sex offender. He has charges against him of R-wording young girls, a woman in her 70s, and he is currently serving jail time for drug charges. So having a person that can logically be pointed to by police, I don't have all the information, is good, right? Like the police are still looking at this case as a missing person, but it has been reported over and over, and they believe this man killed her. But since they don't know for sure, that Madeleine is presumed dead. So officials say we presume that she is deceased, but law enforcement is still looking at this as a missing persons case. So take that as you will. I don't make those decisions. Another update is from the other side of the case. By the way, this is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter video, but that's okay. That's okay. I want to cover this and I want to talk about this. And it may also not be. I don't know. Another update is from the other side of the case. A young women claiming they are Madeleine. In 2017, Harriet Brooks claimed online that she was Madeleine McCann. She was, did I say McCain? If I said McCain, I apologize. It's McCann. Oh wow, my brain's doing a lot of things right now. So it's nothing easy. It's not been an easy Sunday. In 2017, Harriet Brooks claimed online that she was Madeleine McCann. She was a Manchester University student, and she made the claim that she and Madeleine shared the same spot underneath their pupil in their iris, like right. And I'll put a picture up of Madeleine's eye. Well, her face, which includes her eye. Oh my God. Obviously, this was untrue because Madeleine would have been 14 at the time. And Harriet Brooks declared on Twitter it was a joke. Super funny joke. I'm sure that Madeleine's parents immediately knew that it was not Madeleine. But to flame the fires of a missing girl is disgusting, and especially a girl whose case was such a high profile case. This wasn't the ordinary missing girl, which is a problem to even have to say that you have ordinary missing people and then you have these high profile missing white girl syndrome cases, which I'm not saying that it should not have been as public and as portrayed. I'm saying that that should go for every missing person, right? We saw that with Gabby Petito, the missing white girl syndrome. Gabby Petito's case was literally everywhere. You couldn't outrun it. You couldn't hide from it. There was no way you could get away from it. While at the same time, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people went missing while they were looking for Gabby Petito. And no one got a bit of coverage because everyone had the concern and the high level media coverage for Gabby Petito. So why? That's my question, is why. And I've thought about that a lot since the Gabby Petito case, because that was one of the biggest missing persons cases that I have been an adult to remember. And it's heartbreaking to know that one, Gabby Petito is missing and was then found deceased. But it's also heartbreaking to know that everyone was looking for her and no one was looking for the other people because they didn't even know. There was no coverage on it. So putting the same energy into another missing person is not diminishing the importance and the energy of one missing person. And I hope that I can get that across properly. I'm not saying that Madeleine McCann should not have this many eyes on it. I think she should. She's a little baby girl. She was 3 years old when she was stolen from her family. But there were a lot of 3-year-olds that were stolen from their families too, that got no airplay, that got no airtime. And mind you, in the United States of America, this was still extremely massive. It didn't even happen here. Madeleine was from the UK. This happened in Portugal. The news in America was bonkers with it, then diminishing all other Americans and all other young babies and girls and men their time to be shown and helped found as well. Wild. Poor Madeleine. So then later, when TikTok was a thing, a girl named Maddie on TikTok claimed she was Madeleine too. It was also only a joke. Then we had Embla Jahojarvi. I butchered that name. I'm so sorry. In 2016, a young woman was spotted. She was at the time homeless in Rome. Her picture made the rounds and people started claiming it to be Madeleine. Embla was away from her home to study language abroad, and once her studies were done, she never returned home. She was declared missing in May of 2016, and her father, Tavo, saw the photos of her as they were circulating in November 2016 and went to Rome to pick up his daughter. After some encouragement, she is now safely back home. She is on the autism spectrum, which probably led to many reasons and abilities for her to wind up in a different country, to be homeless, to kind of be out of the group that she was a part of, to kind of walk away. And her father referred to it as Asperger's, but I'm almost like 100% confident that now it is not just like PC, but like scientifically, it's like autism spectrum. I mean, I don't want to make any assumptions, but I think it's more proper to say autism on the autism spectrum. And now we have the newest young lady claiming to be Madeleine. But more specifically, if she's not Madeleine, then she still has a connection with Madeleine because she believes that they shared the same abuser. So she believes that she's Madeleine, but also if she's not Madeleine based on the DNA, she shared the same abuser because somehow she knows that. So Julia Faustina, a 21-year-old from Poland, is now in the mix of claiming to be Madeleine. Julia might be referred to as Julia Wendell, Julia Wandelt, or Julia Faustina. And she is going to be sharing all of her information and declarations on the extremely reputable show, The Dr. Phil Show. Monday, tomorrow. Tomorrow. This is happening tomorrow. But until that airs, let me tell you what we know so far.
I really believe that I can be Madeleine, your daughter, but if I'm not, I'm over 100% sure that the person who abused me is involved, because I recognize a picture from site findmadeleine.com. If I'm not Madeleine McCann, I know that I can open this case again.
Okay, so Julia Faustina, she's 21, supposedly, but she does not have her documentation, her birth certificate, so she does not know for sure. That's just what she has been told. She has been in contact with relatives of Madeleine McCann, supposedly, and she's working on the DNA testing process to see if she is Madeleine, related to Madeleine's family, all that stuff. And she made an Instagram account, which is what got people interested, which is what got the attention of like legacy media outlets. And so facial expressions. She claims that she has similar facial expressions. That the mark on her eye, on her eyeball, is the same that, but hers has faded a little bit, which would happen apparently, supposedly. I don't know the science behind it. As you age.
They have the same facial expression. When I laugh and smile, my eyes are a little closed, like Madeleine's eyes, and I think that facial expression can't change. So, because birthmark are something that can be like operated or changed a little, but facial expression year by year is still the same. So
Moles in the same spot. She had moles in the same spot. Blonde hair. They both have blonde hair. There's a dimple on the cheek, and she says when we smile, we have the same dimple. Freckles, moles. I don't know. There has been some kind of facial diagnostic testing or whatever, like a facial recognition process done on Julia's face. And that most likely it is not Madeleine, but she has accrued a following of people. Now, her Instagram is no longer up because she has gained a fellow friend, Dr. Fia Johansson. Fia Johansson has taken Julia in and is her biggest supporter and is helping Julia kind of make the rounds and gather up the information. If she is Madeleine, if she is shared with Madeleine the same abuser, if she is actually her family's child by blood and nowhere near a connection with Madeleine. So I wanted to kind of jump in and see if there was anything we should know about Dr. Fia Johansson.
Because we do have access to Madeleine McCann DNA test, and we will basically compare, we will go through, we will connect with them. Because again, I totally understand why they don't want to get involved with media anymore. I totally understand why they don't want any press to come to their door anymore, because they do have twins, 18 years old, teenager, they do have social life, and they can even put them in danger at some point. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to do anything at this moment until we getting involved with some very clear and very good answer, which coming out in about 10 days.
So Dr. Fia Johansson has accepted and taken Julia Faustina in. And Dr. Fia Johansson said, I thought that there might be some mental health issues, but when I look in her eyes, when she's talking to me, I can see the same mark that Madeleine McCann had, referring to the mark on the iris. There are claims that Julia Faustina have made about her childhood, about her family, and those claims need to be taken seriously, and those claims need to be fleshed out and investigated. And Dr. Johansson has made a kind of roundabout statement that Julia might be suffering from bone cancer right now due to some pain that she was having, some tests that she had done. So that's a major player as well. Julia is in the States. She has filmed an episode of the Dr. Phil show that will be airing on Monday. I don't know what it will do. I don't know when DNA tests are going to come back. I don't know if we can trust Dr. Fia Johansson, who is also a medium. There's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of play. And I think once we're able to see DNA tests and it's able to be laid out in front of everyone, what's true and what's false. There was also a claim that Julia Faustina, the young girl who claims to be Madeleine, has never been supplied a picture of her mother pregnant. They have photos from Holiday, but she's never seen a photo of her mother pregnant. Um, I believe that there's a lot that's not being said. I'm also going to be trying to find a place to watch this Dr. Phil thing. I, as of right now, I think that this is a girl with a lot of history and a lot of past and a very traumatic and tumultuous childhood. And I think that therapy is fantastic. And if there are health issues involved, those need to be taken care of. I think you can add to the layer that Dr. Fia Johansson is being a kind person in the fact that she wants to help this young woman, not just find out who her actual parents are, find out if she is Madeleine McCann, but also help her with her health issues as well. Now, can I say that Dr. Fia Johansson is acting purely out of a good heart? I don't think so. I think that there is a money play involved. I think that she saw an opportunity that could end up with a financial gain, a popularity gain. She has exclusively told the story to very specific outlets. She has exclusively told the story while with her own face and her own mouth and her own voice, while at the same time telling Julia Faustina to remove her social media accounts and to take as much of her face out of the play. So I don't necessarily like that. I can see it from both sides. This girl has been traumatized. She has things that need to be worked out, don't we all? This girl needs people to talk to, and but at the same time, isn't this her story to tell? So I can see intent, good and bad. I can see ideals, good and bad. I can see where things may sway. I can see this from many different angles, and I can feel for Julia needing to be recognized, needing to understand, needing to find her 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 history, her parents, her reasoning, her why. And I think Dr. Fia Johansson might be taking a little bit of advantage of Julia. We can spew all our thoughts, we can spew all our opinions, but we have to wait and see if this really is a contender for Madeleine McCann to be found. If this really is a contender to help solidify who done it to Madeleine McCann. We have to wait. We have to just add a couple more days or a couple more weeks to the time that we have waited since 2007. Now, for us, that's a lot easier. For Madeleine McCann's family, that may not be if they weren't involved. So, who knows? I have no answers. All I have are opinions and thoughts, and the opinions can change because of the different thoughts that I can have or different things that I can read on. Do I think that Julia Faustina, who goes by many different names, coming out and saying, I am Madeleine McCann, is a bad thing? I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I think she did it only because she went to so many different places. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. She went to the police. She went to the Interpol. She went to investigators. She went everywhere to say, I think I might be Madeleine McCann. Let's figure it out. And they all ignored her. So I think she intended to go the right way about it. She intended to go up the pole of law enforcement and say, this is what I think. A DNA test could solve the problem. If I am, then I am. If not, I have more information for you. that might help solve the case. If you have the right guy behind bars, if you have the right man as the suspect, the one and only suspect as of right now. She tried that and was ignored. All just sad. It's all just very sad. I don't have an opinion. I mean, I have opinions, but I don't have a solidified opinion that I fall back on when I think about this case. There's a lot of questions that I have. Things weren't done right. Um, the police in Portugal handled this extremely poorly. Um, there were Volkswagens that needed to be found and all the things. There was so much that wasn't done, and so much that should have been done, and so much that happened that should not have happened in the immediate hours after this case. After they found Madeleine gone, it was disgraceful. And this is when things get out of control, is when we have law enforcement and protocols in place and they aren't followed because of a preconceived judgment or because the lack of care. That's when things go haywire. There's so many cases about police, law enforcement not doing what they need to do. We can talk about just the Maggie and Paul Murdaugh case. I don't want to call it the Alex Murdaugh case because sure, he was on trial, but Maggie and Paul lost their lives. The police were terrible. If the police just followed protocol, there would have been absolutely, most likely, in my brain and opinion, no way for him to even plead not guilty, because it would have all evidence been pointed to one man. He probably would have pled not guilty, but the trial would have gone a lot smoother and probably very differently, but still with the same outcome. So police need to do their jobs. Period. No matter who the victim is, no matter who the family of the victim is, no matter what is happening, protocol is there for a reason. So we can say it's all done this way. You can fall back on everything that has been done before because it's been done this way until it was the reason that we changed to do it this way. So it's a learning lesson, and unfortunately, it was a learning lesson that happened in 2007, which is too late. Just like the Paul and Maggie uh, crime scene that happened in 2019. 2021, around that time. I don't even know. There's so many dates and so many murders and all of that. I get all my times for the Murdaughs messed up. There is no better time than now for law enforcement to remember protocol now. because if you're going to a crime scene tomorrow, you better know and remember it now, because tomorrow you're going to need it. And tomorrow could be the day that changes everything. So I don't know. It was very sad. It's very sad. The initial reasoning that Madeleine McCann was home alone with her two younger siblings, she was 3, her siblings were like 2, was because her parents left them there. Left them there to sleep. I get it. You want your babies to sleep, but also it's 2007 and you're in a different country. And you left your babies alone. My mom would never. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? I feel like my mom slept standing up watching me and my sister sleep in our bunk beds. Like she would never. I feel like my mom was like right there, and like any noise, she was like, oh, they just rolled over. Okay. Like she was my mom would never, never in a million years. She wouldn't even leave us alone to go pick up food to bring back. Never. And that was 90. That was 90s. My mom would never. And I know that there's a different societal meaning of kids, and that was a whole process for the McCanns. Was, well, were they charged with like child neglect by leaving them alone? But it was like a societal thing, like cultural thing where it was normal. So that got dropped. But at the same time, normal or not, there's a lot of things that happen that are normal here in upstate New York that I would never, I don't do. I would never do. I don't even, those my brain. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Jen, for making me do this. That's my brain. No, it's very interesting, and I am intrigued, and I will be following along. If there's anything you want me to talk about next week, or look into, or deep dive into, or just rant about, because I'm really good at that, let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next week. Subscribe if you want. That's a cool thing to do. You know, all those things. All right, I'll see you later.